organised way. Could I just commend the wonderful contributions by Senators Key and McSharry and Senator Kelly as well. You're most welcome, and this series has been highly successful. We do want to exercise our role in legislation and participating with you in a non-partisan way, and I think you've definitely led by example, and your vision for the Senate is one I warmly share.
Jillian van Turnhout.
Thank you very much, and I too would like to add my welcome to you, Marian Harkin MEP, to the House, and very much acknowledge your long-standing involvement on the EU affairs issues. And if we just look at the contributions that you've made in the Parliament and previously in the lower house, the diversity of policy areas in which you've written declarations. You also have an extremely strong record on human rights and equality issues, which you very much demonstrated today. I suppose I would single you out for the work on volunteerism and raising the profile of volunteerism both within Ireland and at a European level. And singularly the campaign that you spearheaded when you were rapporteur for the European Year of Volunteering to bring about that year. And only in recent weeks, for example, I know both of us had the pleasure to attend and participate in the Centre of European Volunteering, where they were launching their Employee Volunteering European Network. And I know that's something that they say that without the work that you had done in laying those foundations, they wouldn't be at a place to launch that employee recognition programme. On some of the issues that you raised, the multiannual financial framework is actually an issue that is concerning me, because I think there's a perception the deal is done. And I realise that the Parliament is not happy with the deal, so to say. And this is all being played out. In ways, many of it's been played out behind the scenes. And I am concerned that perhaps we will agree, as the European Union, a multiannual financial framework that actually won't be fit for purpose and will need to be amended and changed each year. And in fact, we are being disingenuous to the people. Like, if we are serious about saying this is how we set budgets, the EU is telling Ireland how to set budgets, I think there's a big issue for the EU on how it sets its budget, and that it is clear about that budget. You mentioned the programme for social change and innovation, which comes into effect, I think, in January next year to support employment and social policies. And I just want to raise one concern I have. It's just the balancing in that programme between employment-enhancing measures and then the social inclusion and social protection measures. If I look at one of the previous component parts of the programme was progress. It very much looked at the recognition and the role of civil society and, for example, supported children's rights networks to work on the area of child poverty. So it's these type of issues that I would be afraid yes, jobs are really important, but we do need to also look at social inclusion and social protection and have the balance right in the new programme. But to go to the topic of today, and I certainly would endorse your sentiments expressed in your speech, and I'd be strongly in favour of the measures you propose and welcome any prospect of closer cooperation between the Seanad and the European Parliament. I do believe that bicameralism is the most efficient form of democratic representation. However, in the case of this Oireachtas, the distribution of power between the Houses severely limits the contribution of the Seanad. Reforms in line with what you propose, I think, would make a contribution towards filling a new equilibrium and would provide the Seanad with a renewed energy and a sense of purpose that would suit modern Ireland. But I am concerned that despite the general consensus existing on this topic for several years, we've actually seen very little progress being made to promote this mutually beneficial arrangement. And I'm very mindful of the fact that similar propositions were made almost a decade ago by the Committee on Procedures and Privileges Subcommittee on Seanad Reform. And just remember, this is almost a decade ago. This report concluded that the Seanad should, one, be given a responsibility for assessing legislative and other proposals going before EU councils. It should, number two, review draft EU legislation of major national political importance, and three, and provide Irish MEPs with a domestic forum to discuss EU issues and account for their work. And while this is a welcome development, the engagement we're having with MEPs on the third part of that proposal, I'd be interested to hear from you how we could progress the other two goals, which I think there is general consensus in the House, but as I said, this report was almost a decade ago, and as you said at the very start, we do need enhanced cooperation, but in order for that to work, I think we need to maybe probe a little bit more about what and how that cooperation could take place. But very much I do welcome this engagement with MEPs, because it gives us an opportunity also as parliamentarians to engage with the issues at a European level which, as you said at the beginning of your speech, in fact, the majority of which will then impact on Irish citizens. So it's this two-way process that we have to be all mindful of, and that's why I mentioned the multi-annual financial framework. Thank you very much.
Senator Riley.
And like other senators, I would like to extend a welcome to MEP Marian Harkin to the Seanad as a constituent.